draws a distinction between computers and humans. He argues that one side of the computers, the inside, must be written with technical expertise and sensitivity to the needs of hardware. But the software, the outside, must be designed with social expertise and sensitivity to the needs of people. He states that the connection between these is like the connection between programmers and designers. Designers and programmers should be aware of discrepancies between the two to be able to get a successful outcome. When computers were expensive, it was cheaper and more effective to train people. But today, computers and programs are very cheap, and so it is more effective to have a software that conforms to the expectations of the humans instead. The experience of users tends to follow classic bell curve of statistical distribution. This graph shows skill levels. Your app will have a few beginners, a few experts, and a majority of intermediate users. If designers have developed consensus bias or false consensus effect, an assumption of their personal qualities, characteristics, beliefs, and actions are relatively widespread through the general population, the app may misaddress its intended audience. On the other hand, if the developers listen to marketers, their designs have appeal to beginners. As a natural consequence, they miss intermediates again. Programmers demand interactions suitable for experts, and the marketers demand interactions suitable for beginners. But the largest, most stable, and most important group of users is the perpetual intermediates, who tend to be ignored. Being aware that most users are intermediates, how do we design products that meet their needs but don't leave beginners or advanced users out in the cold? The demands that users place on a product varies considerably with their experience. The changes in their needs lead them to ask different type of questions. For example, the question, "What does the application do?" is for beginners, but remembering a function is for intermediates. Similarly, experts consider automation more. These different types of questions and demands are important, since once a person changes their position from beginner to intermediate, or from expert to intermediate, their considerations and expectations for the app also changes. Designers should always remember that no matter who are they and what they do to develop applications, they design for people, not for themselves. Today, the digitization of all forms of media has put consumers neck-deep in technology. Powerful handheld apps are now in the hands of all users. Apps for social media, for photography, video and communications, for games and education, shopping are available for everybody. A similar versatility needs to be created for XR devices as well. XR may not require the same all-in-one feature of smartphones, where users can play games, use maps, call friends, and message people, but it is still lacking in more mundane and day-to-day task features. Currently, MetaQuest dominates the market of VR gaming, which is what most users buy XR devices for. The Apple Vision is capable of displaying individual panels all around a living space, allowing for one window to open a few browser tabs, another window to show a camera feed, one other window to display a timer, and a final window to display pictures. This allows for a much more computer-like interaction, where a user can open many panels to do as they like. This is also similar to the widgets features of smartphones. However, the user base of the Vision is very small, either due to the cost or the market interest. So XR still needs to develop and draw in users who don't just want to play games. It needs to keep user retention high by eliminating battery and headache issues. All these developments create complexities which the brain has to process. But as Alan Cooper said, the brain is not a computer. Celia Hodent suggests that the knowledge comes from neuroscience, and the methodology coming from the user experience, UX discipline, can offer guidelines and a procedure to understand how best decisions can be achieved in design. UX is the bridge between the design of the application and the player. App design defines rules, creates mechanics, balances gameplay, design toys, activities and things to do in the game, etc. But a successful UX design should balance smooth, enjoyable user experience and, in the case of games, the right amount of challenges for the player to keep the game fun, engaging, and entertaining. But that doesn't mean that UX is to make a game too easy. UX design is not game design. Now it's the time to explain the methodologies of UX that are used to unveil secrets of a user's brain. There are a number of popular methods to improve UX at all phases of research and design. Modern-day UX research methods answer a wide range of questions. To know when to use which user research method depends on several factors. This variability in UX methods makes different grouping or categorizations possible, to visualize their relations. For example, Michael Medlock from MetaQuest grouped methods according to being qualitative or quantitative, implementation time and question focus. Implementation time can change single day to several weeks, and question is asked to find answers about product or business model. The vertical axis of the graph shows whether they are behavior-oriented or aiming to find out attitudes, whereas horizontal axis depicts app development lifecycle grouping in 4. For example, interview methodology placed to bottom leftmost as it is responsive to attitudes and valuable at envisioning stage. The what should the product be question can be answered by interviews according to graph. Another example is A/B testing, which is quite popular in design decisions when only 2 version exists. A/B testing is useful at post-release stage and helps to answer questions like, how should the product be made? Or what should the product be made? Medlock lists 21 different tests on the graphs. To list and describe pros and cons of all these tests will take too much time for scope of current course, but let me leave a link under the screen for detailed table for all 21 tests. You may check this file now or later on. Having same idea about those tests, albeit superficially, is important for any further step. The coverage of UX is broader when compared to usability. Defining relative positions of UX methodologies is also more complex than usability's well-defined and settled methods. Usability testing is a powerful tool for evaluating functionality of a digital product. While app design is not about functionality per se, an application still benefits from tenets of usability, and usability appears to be a good foundation for an enjoyable experience. User testing methods can be either moderated versus unmoderated and remote versus in-person. An interview is an example of moderated and remote test. Lab usability or guerrilla testing is an example of moderated and in-person testing. Examples of unmoderated tests are session recording and observations. To learn more about these usability testing methods, you can click on them. Usability testing is a method of testing the functionality of a website, app, game, or other digital product by observing real users as they attempt to complete tasks on it. Usability testing is done by real-life users. The users are observed by researchers working for a business. There are several UX tools that help improve the customer experience but don't really qualify as user testing tools because they don't explicitly replicate the experience of real users testing for functionality. Here are some examples. A/B testing focus group surveys user acceptance or in-house testing. To learn more about these usability testing methods, you can click on them. Read the following statements on UX testing methods. Decide whether they can be a part of user tests or not.